Right. Hello. Welcome to podcast studio number 3. I've pushed the wrong button already. Hang on a second. That's the one I want. Welcome to podcast studio number 3. Sorry, I've missed a couple of podcasts. I have been busy out herping, vlogging, just enjoying life. But today we are back. We are new and improved, and it's fancy. We've got a new computer. We've got a new studio. I've got all the space in the world. I'm no longer in the cupboard under the stairs. Thank everybody. Right, I have got an absolutely awesome guest to come on today. But a bit of housekeeping first. So, as always, Patreon, there's the button. There's the button. Patreon, you guys are on screen now. Thank you very, very much to each and every single one of you that comes back month after month supporting me. I massively appreciate it. Thinking about joining the Patreon, want to know a bit more. So, why would you join the Patreon? Well, it starts at as little as £1 a month, pretty cheap. And all the tiers get exactly the same thing. So you can spend £1, you can spend 5, 10, I don't know what the ranges go, but there's plenty of options. You get early access to all the vlogs. You get to know who's coming on the podcast a bit earlier than everybody else does. You get discount on species clothing. You get sticker packs. There's a private Discord. There's probably some other things, but that's the main things. And if you're interested, there is a 7-day free trial with no obligation to pay afterwards. There's a link in the show notes below. So yeah, that is the Patreon thing. Next up, let's do our podcast sponsor for this episode. Right. Hello. Welcome. It's me, Ben, from the past, doing an advert. Pre-recorded it. It's going to be so much better than normal. So, as I am sure you are aware, today's video is sponsored by Bobby of Rango's Tats. For some reason, there seems to be a link between reptile keepers and people that have tattoos. I don't know where this love for ink and scales comes from, but the majority of reptile keepers have tattoos. And that is why Bobby of Rango's Tats has decided to support the pod for the next few months. Bobby is based over in Bishop Stortford, which is near Stansted Airport, at a studio called Obsidian Ink. I've actually got 3 tattoos from Bobby, and each and every one of them has blown my expectations out of the water. If you're a reptile keeper that likes tattoos, or a tattoo enthusiast that likes reptiles, head over Rango's Tats on Instagram. Start your message with the word ReptiChat. Hopefully you've enjoyed my new advert. Back to the podcast. Enjoy. Wow. My hair is bad enough. I need to do a new advert, I think. And obviously the studio is very cramped. I've got so much space. It's so nice. I love this. So yeah, that is go and check Bobby out. He is a fantastic guy. Also a reptile keeper as well. Has some really cool stuff. So definitely worth a check out. Before we get today's guest on, let's just see what's in the comments, because I can see a couple of comments in there. We've got Buddy saying hello. Buddy, lovely to have you here. And we have got Matt from MJH Exotics. Matt, lovely to have you here as well. Please, guys, if you are watching, feel free to drop a comment. And I imagine there will be opportunities to ask questions. So if you want to ask a question today, chuck it in the comments and I'll do my very best to get it asked. Now, our guest has been waiting very patiently in the wings, so it's only fair we get him on. Let's do a little bit of a guest introduction, though. So you may or may not be aware for the last, since, I don't know, February last year, I set myself a challenge to find all the reptiles and amphibians in the UK. I did all last year except for pool frogs, natterjack toads, and sand lizards. This year, I have got left to find the same: sand lizards, natterjack toads, and pool frogs. However, my guest today has found natterjack toads, pool frogs, sand lizards. In fact, my guest today has found every single reptile and amphibian in the UK. And not only in the UK, they have also found every single reptile and amphibian in Europe. That's like 250 plus, I don't know how many it is, 250 plus reptiles and amphibians. Today, we're going to find out all about that. What an achievement. So without any further ado, please can we introduce Nipper Reid. Hello.
Hello, mate. That's very professional. I'm loving this.
Thank you very much. I've been trying. It's like 2 years in the making. So gone from living room, tiny little cupboard, big studio.
I like it. I've got my own podcast, but we don't have technical wizardry like this. We just chat.
It's a lot fun. It's a lot less fancy than it looks, to be fair.
Oh, it looks fancy though. I'm loving it.
I appreciate it. So before I start, I have to ask you the this or that questions. 10 questions I ask every single guest.
Cool.
Really straightforward, and then we'll get straight into it. So if you are happy, let me find the questions which are here. So nice and simple to start off with: cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs all day.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. Snakes or lizards?
Oh, damn. Snakes,
Nice. Frogs or salamanders?
salamanders.
I might change that one to frogs or toads. I don't know. I quite like that. For salamanders, good shout. I've never seen a salamander. That's a cool one. Centipedes or millipedes?
Oh, millipedes, centipedes freak me out. Disgusting.
I agree. Horrible. Spiders or scorpions?
Oh, scorpions. Like both, but scorpions.
Nice. Butterflies or birds?
Oh, birds.
Grassland or woodlands?
Woodlands.
Nice. Beach or mountain?
Mountains.
Nice. Hot climate or cold climate?
Oh, definitely hot.
Yeah. No, nobody likes the cold, I don't think. And probably the most important question of the entire podcast actually is: what is your favourite biscuit?
I'm pretty much carb free. I love the gym, so I don't do biscuits.
No biscuits at all.
If I had to,
It's a cheat day. You've earned it.
Custard cream.
Nice. I love a custard cream. Good choice. Yes. I need to get like a leaderboard of the top tier biscuits. I say it every episode, but we'll get there eventually. Right. So, Nipper, could you give us an introduction into yourself? Sort of what's your background in reptiles, I suppose? What's your like elevator pitch of yourself?
Oh, okay then. So I'm very, very old. I have been around reptiles and amphibians for very, very long amount of time. I keep quite a few species. I have a building where I keep a lot of snakes. I used to have a massive venomous collection, but I got bit fairly recently, which was rubbish. So I've thinned the venomous down. So now I'm kind of more lizards than snakes. I still got a few bits of venomous, but it's kind of more lizards than snakes. I've been keeping for around 30 years. The rest of the time, I like to get out herping. So I have been really lucky to travel the world and try and take as many pictures of herps as I can.
Fantastic stuff. If you don't mind me asking, I'm sure other people are going to want to know as well. What did you get bitten by? And I'm glad you're fine by the seams of things.
I am fine. It took me about a year to get back to normal. I'm going to do a shameless plug now. If you listen to my podcast, which you can get on all the normal platforms, it's called Venom Exchange Radio, which I do with a chum of mine called Phil, who's a well-known USA venomous keeper. And I did an episode on what it was like to get bitten, because it was, although not something I'd ever want to repeat, it was a really, really interesting experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And made maybe more interesting or maybe more unpleasant by the fact that I kind of knew what was going to happen through the stages of it, because I kept venomous for a long time. I'm interested in venomous. I've read a lot about envenomations, and I've got a lot of friends around the world that keep venomous snakes. So I kind of knew almost stage by stage what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made it worse or better, to be perfectly honest.
I suppose you sort of know what to expect next, which isn't always right. What species was it, sorry?
So it was a dusky pygmy rattlesnake. So
right, okay. Yeah.
Not a big rattlesnake, but the venom is very virulent.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't great, I got to be honest. I didn't get full range. I got bitten in the index finger, and I didn't get full range of movement back in my hand. I didn't get full grip strength back in my hand for about a year.
Wow. Blimey. Yeah, that's painful.
It's a bit rubbish, yeah.
Yeah, what I'll do after this episode, I will go and find that episode if people want to listen to it, and I'll put a link in. So if you're watching now and you want to listen to it, come back like a half an hour after the episode's finished, and I'll make sure the link's there. Because I'm going to listen to that myself as well.
Just listen to Venom Exchange Radio if you're into snakes or scorpions or spiders, because that's all we really talk about. And we've been fortunate to have some cracking guests on, like Johan Murray and Mark O'Shea and people like that. just talking about their experience about herping venomous or keeping venomous snakes and spiders and scorpions.
Yeah. I'll make sure the link is in there at the end. There are going to be a couple of questions that aren't going to be related to our topic today, so I'm just going to do those quickly because we've got some comments. Riddler says, "Damn, I joined at one hell of a time, literally just as we started talking about being bitten." And he's also said, "I love that being bitten by a venomous snake. It wasn't great, to be honest. That's so British." Yeah, very much so. Dan says quickly, and then we'll move on to the topic today. What lizards do you keep? Obviously, there's loads.
My days.
Give us
There are
a brief rundown.
Brief. Okay, so I'm very much into Felsumas, so I keep the usual stuff: Clemorice, Appendia, Kochai, Laticorda, Grandis. Trying to go around my room.
Yeah.
What are the others? Ornata, Standing Eye. There's a lot of those.
A lot of geckos.
Cave geckos, Australian stuff, Oedura, different species of Strophaurus, cave geckos.
Nice.
And then of course all the bigger stuff. I've got 4 different localities of Leachianus, gargoyles, cresteds, all that sort of stuff.
Nice variety as well. I like the go on.
I was going to say, I forget. I've also got outdoor enclosures with wall lizards.
That's really cool.
Some oscillating lizards, stuff like that.
That's really, really cool. I really like that. I'm quite lucky. There's a good population of wall lizards not far from me, and I know a couple of people that live where the population is, and they get them in their gardens, and I'm like,
it's wicked.
It'd be so cool to have it in my garden.
Are you at Shoreham then? Maybe
I'm not far from Shoreham. I'm about 20 minutes from Shoreham.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really, really cool. Cool. Right, let's move on to the main topic of today. That is, you are the first UK person from the UK to have found every single species of reptile and amphibian in the UK and Europe, which is mad to me. So first off, congratulations.
Really appreciate that, mate. Thank you. It's taken a long time, and I'm almost sad that it's done now, to be perfectly honest. It's been part of my life for so long. But I mean, on the plus side, it'll never be over because taxonomists keep splitting stuff. And as soon as they split something, I'll go and see it. So
that's incredible. So yeah, absolutely amazing. Could you give us some details into the challenge itself? How many species are there to start with?
There's a lot. It depends on. There's no hard and fast rules for this. It depends what you count as Europe.
Right.
Whether you're going to do Europe politically or geographically, whether you're going to take it just from the Excellent Reptiles of Britain and Europe book as your list. Personally, I take it from the European Union. Every 2 years, the European Council publish a list headed up by my friend Jeroen, and they publish a list of current European species.
Right.
So that is the list that I've taken it from, and it varies. Taxonomy changes. People argue about different taxonomy.
Yeah.
If you're talking strict species, I think there's somewhere around 260, something like that.
Right. Okay.
With subspecies, it is massive.
Yeah. I googled it, but I got like 5 or 6 different answers. So I thought the easiest way is just ask the question.
Yeah, and to be fair, it changes almost by the day. And taxonomy is not hard and fast. Some people count a species, some people don't count a species. I'll give you an example. There's a frog on the island of Rhodes and Carpathos. Some people count that as a separate species. Some people count it as a subspecies.
Right.
So it's just whichever list of current taxonomy you choose to follow.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. There's, like you say, there's always people arguing about what's what and what isn't what. So that makes perfect sense. So where do I start? Really, I suppose. Why did you decide to take on the challenge? Let's start at the beginning.
I have absolutely no idea, if I'm perfectly honest. I've always been like yourself. I've always been into reptiles and amphibians. Even from a very, very tiny kid, I remember being fascinated by reptiles. And whenever I went on holiday with me mum and dad, I'd look for reptiles if we was in a foreign country or whatever. And you'd have to remember that I'm really old, so I predate the internet.
Right. To be fair, I think when did the internet come out properly? Like 1992. So you can't be that old.
I'm old, mate. To be fair, but yeah. So I predate the internet, and it wasn't something that you knew anybody else was doing, because you couldn't just go on Insta and chat to people or Facebook and go, anyone else like lizards? I'm looking at this. It was just a thing. And you might go to a talk at a museum or something like that and meet somebody else that was into it. So it was really hard. And then the internet came out, and Jeroen and some other people started formulating this thing that, wouldn't it be great to go out and try and see 100 species in Europe? And at the time, 100 species sounded like ridiculous. How can anybody see that many species of reptile amphibian in the wild in Europe? And then it got more formulated as the years went on, and more formulated, to eventually now we have an extant list of over 250, 260, whatever. So I would say seriously, around 15 years ago, I thought, right, I want to see everything. And there was a handful of people that were trying to do it at the time. And we kind of corresponded via email, and that's how it started.
So when you decided you were going to officially do it, did you start with a blank list, or did you tick off the stuff you'd already seen that you know?
Yeah, for me, I'm very, very careful. Somebody might say, oh, well, I can tick off tree frog because I've seen tree frog in Spain.
Yeah.
Well, in that area, you might get 3 species of tree frog. So unless you can positively identify what that species was, I wouldn't tick it off.
Yeah.
So if I could positively identify something by location where I've been away before, I would count it. If not, I started again.
No, that's fair enough. That's cool. All right, and whilst we're talking about the ins and outs of your rules, so to speak, there's a question here. Let's do this one. If you flip them under like a refugia, like a tin or something, is that counted? Because I know you said you've seen them in situ. Yeah,
for me, and everybody has different rules, and I herp a lot in America, and it's very weird over there what they count.
That's just America in general.
Mate, America is super sketchy to herp in some places. But for me personally, if I see the animal in its natural habitat, I will count that. So if I'm out in Sierra de Gredos, I find a tree that's fallen over, I move it, and a lizard runs out, I'll count it.
Yeah.
If I'm in Greece and I'm out and I flip a dirty mattress that's been dumped out of a car, and there's a snake underneath, I will count it. That's the snake in its I haven't put it there. That's the snake in its natural environment.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. There's going back to Shoreham. There's the wall lizards at the train station in Worthing as well.
All right.
There's a spot where there's like a suitcase dumped over a fence, and they love the suitcase, and that is their natural environment. So I completely understand what you mean. Yeah.
Herping, particularly in Europe, is the weirdest thing, because most people, when they're out in nature and they see a load of fly tipping, will go, oh my God, that's disgusting. Why do people do that? If you're a herper and you're out and you see a load of fly tipping, you're rubbing your hands together, because that's predominantly where you find most stuff, under sheets of tin or, planks of wood that have been dumped.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go through. All right, let's do a how. So obviously, logistically, I'm trying to find all the reptiles and amphibians in the UK.
Okay.
And the UK is a very small place, and I've been trying to find sand lizards over and over again. It's a pain in the backside, and I can't find them.
Okay.
I know where they are, but I can't find them. So how are you?
How many days are you doing it over?
Whenever I get a chance. So maybe once or twice a fortnight.
Okay. If you get up early, you can do it in a day.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. To be fair, we went out last weekend or the weekend before, and we did everything bar sand lizards.
Okay. Have you seen smooth snake?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah.
And you didn't find sand lizards at the same place?
No, there's supposed to be sand lizards there, but I have not seen them. I know someone else that has seen like glimpses of them, but I won't count it unless I can get a photograph of it.
That's fair enough.
I've not even seen a glimpse.
Okay, we'll talk off air.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds ideal.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you go? Right, I want to go and find, for example, I can't remember exact species, but you saw a boa in Europe.
Yes, I saw
a sand boa. So how do you go? Right, I need to tick this one off. what's the next steps? Once you just are you looking at your list and going, right, this is what I need to find, or are you going to go to the country and then see what's in the country?
When you first start, everything's new, so it doesn't really matter where you go. So if you are beginning the list, you can just go, right, I'm going to go to Peloponnese in Greece, and everything I see is going to be new and it's going to be on the list. Happy days.
Yeah.
But as you go further down the list and you're ticking species off, you then end up having to do trips for specific species, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So if I'm going to do that, I'll give you an example. I late last year, my partner and I went to Samos, little Greek island. It's the closest Greek island to Turkey. How it's not Turkish, I don't know, because it's literally a kilometre away from Turkey. And it's a weird island because you get Turkish species, so like Asian Turkish species, but you also get European species on there.
Right.
It's a really, really hard island to herp. It's not somewhere I personally think you could just turn up and find stuff. There's other islands, other Greek islands, you turn up, you get out the car, and you'll find stuff, if it makes sense. But this, you really needed specific locations. So for something like that, or for the Samboa, again, which is quite localized and hard to find, I'd go on iNaturalist, start having a look at where the majority of sightings have been found, try and narrow it down there. I'd go on Google and look at all the scientific papers for that species.
Okay.
Because academics are very good at putting exact grid references where they find a type locality. Yeah. Literally, I found so many areas where someone's done a survey on a specific newt and they've put a Google Earth reference to the type locality. It'll take you straight there.
Right, okay, that's interesting.
The other thing I'll do is I'll read other people's trip reports. There's a lot of great stuff online. A lot of people are putting up really, really interesting, beautifully photographed trip reports. So I have a look through them. I'm really fortunate that I know a lot of people. I'm really lucky like that. So I can just message somebody and say, oh, you're in Bulgaria, like my friend Dan, say, I need to see this. Any ideas where I might go? And he'll go, oh, yeah, I've seen them here. So have a crack there. And also things like Flickr. Sometimes, you look at a particular species on Flickr and people will put the location on there.
Okay, I've never thought of using Flickr before. That's a good idea as well, yeah.
I will say, it sounded like an old fart, people now have it so easy because within 10 minutes you can go online and get an absolute raft of information.
Yeah, no doubt.
Where you never used to be able to do that.
Yeah, I imagine even 10 years ago, it probably was a lot harder than it is today.
Yeah. And field herping wasn't really a thing. That it was like people meeting up in dark rooms and whispering to one another, I'm a field herper. Yeah. Now it's a really, really popular thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be getting more and more popular as well, which is a good thing and a bad thing, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we need to be really sensitive about how we're doing it. We don't want to go and trash the environment. But if you are respectful of the environment, it's an amazing thing to get out and do. I mean, particularly, it's getting bigger in Europe. In America, it's absolutely massive.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot of things on like YouTube things that I watch, and they're most of them American based, and they seem to absolutely love it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. We've got loads of questions coming through as well, so let's just chuck a few questions in at the same time. Where should we start? That's pretty much what we've just asked. How do we go about finding a target species? I suppose, you've pretty much just answered that one, so we can get rid of that one. There we go. What is your favourite place to herp in Europe? And I've actually got another question that I'm going to ask as well, because it's the same question. Someone on Instagram called Ben Bailey has asked, which country in Europe would you recommend to someone who's wanting to go further afield herping but has never been herping abroad before?
If it depends, I'm going to hedge my bets here. It depends what you want to see. Right, if you want to see snakes in large numbers, I would say Bulgaria.
Right, okay.
If you want to see lizards in large numbers, I would say some of the Greek islands like Naxos. I've just come back from Naxos and I was blown away by the ease of herping and the just the absolute numbers of lizards. I've never seen lizard densities like it. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
We had one area where we was looking for my last lizard. There was a dry stone wall through an olive grove, and this is not an exaggeration, every meter along the wall there was a lizard.
That's mad.
It was incredible. I've never seen densities like it.
Yeah.
And again, in certain areas in Bulgaria, although there are large numbers of the same species, I'm not saying that there's lots of different species. In Bulgaria, we've had something like 35 snakes in under an hour.
Blimey.
A lot were the same species. I think of the 35, it was only across 4 species, but that's still a lot of snakes to find out and about.
Yeah, definitely. That's loads of snakes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Going back to Ryan's question, my favourite place to herp in Europe is there's so many great places, and it's not just the herping; it's the people you go with, it's the scenery. I'd say overall, probably Greece.
Right.
Just for the diversity of species.
Yeah.
But you've got so many little Greek islands with endemic species on them. And it's not only that; it's the scenery's lovely, the food's lovely, the people are really friendly.
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. I'm just going to read through these comments quickly because they're chatting. Is there anything relevant on there? No, not really. Cool. Yeah, Greece. I've never been to Greece, but I'll definitely add that to the list because I need to go herping. I was in Italy for work last week. I was in Rome, and I went herping for like 2 hours and saw more stuff than I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. So
Italy's good.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was really good. Because I couldn't get a hands on a snake. I saw 2 big snakes that I think were. Oh, I'm not gonna remember what they are now. Paul, if you're in the comments, can you tell me what they were? Because I can't remember. But both of them I was not quick enough to get hold of. I was like, oh, there's one. No, it's gone. And that was cool. Not for first wild terrapins as well, turtles.
Oh, wicked.
Cool. So yeah, but yeah, I'd add Greece to the list. Next question we have got. Let's do this one. What was your favourite species to find?
Oh, I can't answer that. They were all my favourite species at the time.
Yeah.
There so many. Just for sheer stunning looks, and if you can get a picture up or people can look it up, is the Monticola rock lizard. Just an it lives at such high altitude, and it's bottle green. Just a stunning creature to see in such a drab, sort of like grey bare rock, and then you see this absolutely bright green lizard.
Let's see if I can get it. That one. Is it also known as an Iberian rock lizard?
Yeah, it could be. Let's have a look.
Let me see if I can share the screen. Share screen.
That's the one. Look at that. I mean, that picture really doesn't do it justice. It's literally metallic bottle green. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, they look. Yeah, very. Yeah, wow! Look at that one.
When you see it, as I say, it lives at high altitude. It's all grey rock, and then you just see these mad, beautiful bottle green lizards running around. What else? Timon nevadensis, Europe's biggest lizard. It is just a tank of a lizard, and to see that was really, really cool. I mean, just a huge, sort of small Australian monitor-sized lizard. Just a brilliant thing, which is sort of like round southern Spain, Alicante sort of area.
Right. Okay.
That's a lovely sort of gunmetal grey lizard with blue spots. Just for the scale of it, it was incredible.
Yeah.
I've got a real thing for salamanders. So any of the cave salamanders, either the Sardinian ones or the Italian ones, have been great. The spectacled salamanders were amazing. They look like something out of a cartoon.
I see if I can find one. Yeah, like I said, I've never seen a salamander ever.
Oh my days! We really do need to have a long conversation off air.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Spectacled salamander. Let's find a nice picture of one. What we got? That one.
They do this crazy thing where they form a loop with their body and they roll away.
I think I've just found a picture of one doing that, actually.
There it is.
There we go. Look at that. That's really cool.
Yeah, they're beautiful. There's two species. There's a northern and southern species. They're quite hard to find, but yeah, absolutely crazy to see those. Trying to think what else.
We haven't done a snake. What about snakes?
Snakes. Well, I'm a real viper boy. So any of the vipers, particularly the Ottoman viper, because it's our biggest viper. The Milos viper is absolutely stunning. You can get some coral pink ones. A Siamese viper because it's so small and cute. What else? The Olm was mad to see, just purely by the logistics of having to go so far underground in the dark.
What? Sorry?
The Olm.
How am I spelling that?
OLM.
OLM. Olm.
That's a blind salamander.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That's a blind salamander that lives in the dark. Many kilometers underground. So it's a logistical challenge to go and see those, shall we say?
Yeah, I bet. Is that like proper caving through little holes to go and find that as well?
It's a long walk underground and having to get into rubber boats in underground streams and stuff like that. It's a long way. You can see it in parts of Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, I think. I saw it in Slovenia. Really hard to photograph because if you imagine you're in pitch black, that's the subspecies which I've also seen. That's the black version of it, which is bigger. That's Proteus parkeri.
Okay.
But yeah, they're very cool. It's one of the things I've said it before on other podcasts. I've got a little weird thing where I like to be in the water with animals. I don't know why.
Okay.
And when I saw the Olm, I had to get in the water with it. It was just so cool.
Yeah. No, I've never heard of an Olm before. That's really cool. Bizarre looking thing.
Yeah, really. They're blind. They live for about 150 years. They can go years without feeding. They're a very weird creature.
Yeah, very cool. And then so we've done snakes, lizards, salamanders, frogs and toads. We can split them into frogs and or toads.
Okay, frogs. That's hard. I saw African clawed frog in Italy. That was very cool to see an African species thriving in Italy. That was unusual. Toads, I absolutely love a toad. Buffospinosus, the spiny toad. Some of the ones I've seen, some that are they're just massive, bigger than your hand, and really nice red brick colours, particularly the ones from sort of Macedonia and that sort of area.
Let's see if we can get one of those on the screen as well. Look at that. I like a toad.
Yeah, they if you think of the European common toad that we have in the UK, easily they get to twice the size of that.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, they're a tank of a toad.
Yeah, nice. I think that is that the favourites of everything. I think so. Turtles, I suppose. Turtles, tortoises.
I'm not
that many, are there?
I'm not a big lover of turtles or tortoises, I've got to be honest. But it's always nice to see. I mean, I like the marginated tortoise. That's a bit of a tank of an individual. I've seen them in a few countries. Also, Emmys, the European pond turtle. They're sort of ubiquitous. They're in most European countries, but they're always nice to see.
Yeah. Any day you see a herp is a good day, even if it's one of your least favourite herps.
100%. 100%.
Incredible. Right, let's go. I've got loads of questions coming through. So that one will come back to Michael. Thank you. I'm really happy with the studio. Have you found any undescribed species?
Yes, I haven't found it. I've been on a trip where we was looking for stuff and we found a species which at that time we didn't discover it. Someone had already found it or genetically split it, but at the time it hadn't got a name yet.
Oh, that's cool. Can you remember off the top of your head what it was?
Yeah, it was the Atlantic parsley frog.
Shall I see if I can find that? Let's see if I can find that. Atlantic parsley frog. Where did you find that?
That was in Portugal.
Okay, let's see. It's not coming up on that.
I think it's might be Peloditis atlanticus or something like that.
That's the one. Is it on iNet? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good looking frog as well. Wow. I like a frog. Look at that. That's a good looking frog.
It's cute, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I bet that was quite exciting to find something that at the time was undescribed as well.
It was, and it was nice to be away with the chap that was doing the work on it as well. So it was very cool.
Oh, that's really cool. All right, that is undescribed. Find that one. There's a few more from Paul, but we'll leave those for now. I've got another one on Instagram as well that says, what's one animal that you've found and just gone, holy shit, I can't believe I've just come across that? Something that's blown you away. Something that's blown you away when you found it.
Oh, to be fair, if I'm going on a trip, particularly as I was getting towards the end of the list, I got very nervous when I was on a trip that I wasn't going to find what I'd gone out to look for. So if I found the target, everything blew me away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But for me, some things that I found that I just think were amazing was like Viperberus bosniensis. I really wanted to see that, and we found such a nice specimen. Like we found a melanistic specimen of that. That was very cool. That was in Montenegro, I think. There's I'm so easily pleased. Literally, just about everything I find really blows me away.
That's good. It makes the hobby even more fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them quite a few times, but every time I see them, it makes me a bit giddy as sand boas, because I just think it's really funny that we get boas in Europe.
Funnily enough, I was going through your Instagram feed and I saw the post of the boas. My friend Paul, who's commenting as well, did the same thing. I didn't even know that we had boas in Europe.
Yeah, I mean they're only just in Europe, but
it still counts.
I know it makes me laugh that we have a boa in Europe.
Yeah, that's mad. I imagine a sand boa is not an easy target to find either.
They're reasonably common in areas where they are. I'll rephrase that. The densities are normally quite good where they are. It's just very localized where they are. You have to know where they are.
Right, okay.
And then the last time I found it, without exaggeration, it was the first or second rock I flipped had a sandbar underneath it. And then about the fifth rock I flipped had a sandbar underneath it. And then the 10th rock I flipped had a sandbar underneath it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So where they are, they're not necessarily uncommon. I flipped rocks with multiple sandbars underneath them before.
Nice.
But you have to be in the right area to find that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, very close populations, but dense in those pockets.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a good question. I've got some questions on here as well. I've got so many lists because people have messaged me everywhere trying to find bits and bobs. Right, here's I imagine I think I'm going to know the answer already. But what was your least favourite to find and why?
Do you mean which one was the griefiest to find, or do you mean the one that I found and was really disappointed when I found it?
Let's do both. Yeah.
Okay.
Pick which one first.
Okay, so Montandon's newts. It was an absolute embuggerance to get to where it is because it's at the back of Beyond in Romania. It was a lot of, it's a long fly, and then once you're in Romania, it's a long drive. The roads in Romania aren't great. You're going up into the mountains in Romania. It's hard to find. When you do find it, it's also sympathetic with the smooth newt. It looks almost identical. Literally, you have to key it out in your hand. There you go. If you saw that in your garden, you'd think that was a smooth newt.
Yeah,
100%. It's so.
Yeah, there you go. That looks almost identical.
Exactly. So you think I spent all that time, money, and efforts to find this species that looks like something that I have wild in my garden.
Yeah.
So that was less than thrilling. It was. Don't get me wrong. It's a tick. I'm pleased to have seen it in its natural habitat, and the habitat is lovely. It's up in the mountains, mountain meadows. But yeah, it wasn't an inspiring lizard. Newt, sorry. Another one just sprung to mind. So there is a little tiny island called Pori, Pori, and it's a tiny little island. It's about the size of a couple of football pitches,
Right.
And it's an absolute buggerance to get to. So you have to. I got a flight to Athens, and then I drove from Athens to near the coast. So it was about a 4 or 5 hour drive, and then I had to get a ferry to Cytherea, and then from Cytherea we had to hire a boat. A group of us had to hire a boat, which is extortionate, to Pori Island, which is absolutely minute. So the expense was ridiculous, and the time taken to do this was ridiculous. And when you get on the island of Pori, it is, there you go.
It's literally in the middle of nowhere.
It's in the middle of nowhere. It is, as I say, it's about the size of 2 football pitches. It's a tiny island, and we all went there for one brown lizard, which is the Pori wall lizard, which is not inspiring to look at all. It is not. It's a wall lizard, but it's not a pretty wall lizard. It is a drab brown wall lizard. I think I was the first Brit to see it. I'm not sure, but I think I was the first Brit to see it. I went with another excellent herper who's very close to finishing the list, another Brit guy called Kevin Burns, and yeah. There it is, and that's a really, really colourful example of it.
Yeah, and it's a very drab looking wall lizard, like you say.
Most of my pictures are brown lizards. Yeah. So yeah, it was an adventure to get there, but it's not an exciting lizard to see, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so few people have seen it. I would say probably myself and Kev, and Kev's missus, who's sadly no longer with us, were probably maybe the first Brits to see it, if not certainly a handful of Brits to see it.
Is that just because people aren't going to the tiny island?
Why would you bother? I mean, it costs an arm and a leg to hire a boat. It's a long way to get there, and you know, it's just a little tiny wall lizard. It's not super exciting.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's perfect. And then, so was that probably the most griefiest one, do you reckon, or was there?
No. Without a shadow of a doubt, there's 2 that really spring to mind, and I've spoke about them on other podcasts before, but I'm still scarred by them. So one is the Greek meadow viper, which is an absolutely beautiful snake, but just the habitat that it's in is really hard to herp. So we was in Greece, obviously. We was up in the mountains, bare rock mountains. You're searching on slopes that are at sort of, 30-degree slopes all day. So you can't stand upright all day. You're at an angle all day.
Yeah.
The sun is beating down on the rocks and then reflecting onto you. We were finding absolutely nothing, not even any other herps. We were getting eaten alive by horseflies to the point that I got a bite on my leg, which I still have a scar on to this day.
Wow.
But my leg swelled up to twice its size, and I couldn't bend my leg. There was no discernible knee, and I still had about 4 or 5 days herping left to do. And it took us 3 days in doing that before we found one. Wow. That was really hard. The other one is was my absolute nemesis, which was the blotch snake, Elaphe suramentis. I did so many trips to find that. It's a big snake, but the densities are so low.
No,
that's not it. No. That's an American snake.
Yeah.
It's the blotch snake.
Oh yeah. Let's get the picture up.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
No, even that doesn't look like it, to be honest.
What did you say that started?
Try Elaphe
Elaphosauromantis.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very
Yeah.
bad picture. That's a very, very bad picture
Let's
of
go
it.
to Google Images and see what we can find.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest snakes in Europe. It's not the biggest. It's one of the biggest. And it's a really rough. That's a much better picture of it. Yes, you can see it's got a really rough skin.
Yeah, very keeled scales.
And it's a sort of specialist of salt marshes. There you go.
Okay.
That's a cracking picture of it.
Yeah.
And it feeds a lot on wading birds and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Okay.
It only just comes into Europe, so it's only on the Black Sea coast.
Yeah.
And I had so many trips to see that.
Yeah,
I don't even want to think how much money I spent trying to see that particular snake. Yeah. So those are probably my ones that have caused me the most grief.
nice. And then this question from Ryan leads into that very well as well. What species took you the longest to find? Obviously, you said you needed multiple trips for that one. Are there others as well?
Oh yeah, there's no guarantee that you're going to find what you're going to find. Another one that took me 5 trips was arguably Europe's rarest snake, which is the Algerian whip snake,
Right.
which you only get in a tiny little bit of Malta. It's like an introduced species, but it's been there for over 100 years.
Yeah.
But it's only in a tiny little area of Malta. It's in, I don't know if people know much about Malta. If you've seen Game of Thrones, they used a lot of Malta, like Valletta, for some of the backgrounds for some of the, there it is, yeah, for some of the Game of Thrones stuff. It's all made out of sandstone, the old town. I think it was Red Landing in Game of Thrones, and King's Landing in Game of Thrones, I think. Anyway, so there's this one park, and it was a big sort of Victorian park, formal park, but they've let it go to ruin now. So there's a lot of undergrowth, and there's a lot of ruined buildings and stuff like that.
Right.
It's, how can I put this nicely?
Well, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Is there a clicking coming from your end, or is it through my end? Hear a clicking at all?
Can't hear a clicking.
No, I don't know.
No so it's found in this park, and this park is frequented by gentlemen that like to meet other gentlemen for outdoor fun.
Right.
That was so. And when you're wandering around in this park, it's hot, so you're just normally wearing a pair of shorts, and I've got short hair and lots of tattoos. So I made lots of friends while I was looking for this snake, which was nice.
Finding lots of other snakes that you weren't particularly interested in.
Exactly. But yeah, trying to find that took 5 trips before we finally tracked it down. But it is a stunning looking snake. I think
it really is a good looking snake.
I think it's one of Europe's best looking snakes. Again, that's not a particularly nice picture, or not a particularly nice specimen, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, let's just flip through. Yeah,
there you go.
Really good looking snake.
Yeah. For me, it's very reminiscent of the Australian Boyget irregularis. It's got that sort of band in. It's a stunner.
Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. Cool. That was the wrong island on the map. Well, blame Google Maps. I apologise. It's that small, even Google Maps can't find it. No.
I doubt it. Yeah, you'd be very lucky. It is literally the size of 2 football pitches or so. It's a speck.
Yeah. I've done that one. That one. What was the hardest? I suppose. Was there a harder one than your?
It depends on how you define hard. There's some that some species have taken a lot of time, and in the area that they are means that you're driving a lot. You're driving thousands of miles. You're not getting any sleep. It's hard. There's no food available, so there's a hardship to find that species. But the densities aren't bad. Or there's some where the densities are so low, you could spend weeks in one place and you're not going to find it. One of the hardest, although it took me 3 days to find, which doesn't sound a long time, but 3 days of herping without seeing anything in hot conditions is hard. And that was the Samos rock lizard. I'm going to say it. Sorry if anyone's from Samos. Samos is an arse of a place to herp. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless you're going for a specific species. There's so many islands that are much nicer to herp.
Right.
Yeah, the densities of herps on Zamos are so low that I wouldn't recommend it.
Just makes it very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So obviously you found all of them now. Does that mean you have been to every single country in Europe, or have there
No.
been there's still some countries missing as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's countries in Europe that don't have herps or don't have many herps. I've been to most of them. I'm really lucky that I've travelled. I can't remember. I've done over 50 countries worldwide. In Europe, the countries I haven't been to are the colder countries.
Right.
So obviously there's no herps, or there's limited herps. A lot of the species are found in multiple countries, so you don't need to go there. I wouldn't be going to Estonia because there's nothing there that I haven't already seen.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other countries that I haven't done in Europe. Estonia, Latvia. I've not been to Latvia. Again, I don't need to go there. There's nothing reptile or amphibian wise there that I haven't already seen.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
No, good. That's a good question, Ryan. I'll ask that in a second. Let's ask Ryan's one, and then I'm going to move on to my question. Ryan said, "Did you see many alien/introduced species whilst out and about?"
Yeah, sadly, there's a shed load. I mean, there's a shed load I've seen a shed load of introduced species in the UK. I mean, you think about midwife toads. Don't forget, you got to add that to your list when you're doing your UK
Yeah,
stuff.
we were doing natives only to start with.
Oh, natives only. You could probably do in a couple of hours. What's the matter with it? You've got the Italian crested newt in UK. You've got yellow-bellied toad in the UK now. You've got the Aesculapian snakes.
Yeah.
Have you seen them yet?
Not yet. No, they're on the list for the year. I'll just find the time to go and see them.
I'll ping you some stuff about them.
That'd be great.
There's 3 sites for them. They're cool to see. But yeah, Europe-wide, I think the weirdest one I've seen is chameleons. So African chameleons.
Yeah.
There's a couple in Greece and places like that, Italy, and African clawed frogs in Italy. Like huge populations of African clawed frogs. Sadly, in places like Belgium, huge populations of American bullfrogs.
Yeah.
The one that absolutely blew my mind, phenomenal, was Russian rat snakes.
Oh, okay.
So in Holland, there's quite a good population of Russian rat snakes. So you have these. Now they are probably the biggest snake we get in Europe, but I don't count them as a European species. But yeah, these huge black rat snakes living quite happily in Holland.
That's very interesting. I go to Holland a lot for work, so I'll have to make sure I go and see if I can find some.
Yeah, literally stunning. I mean, if you have a look at, there's some pictures on my Insta of them. Just beautiful, beautiful snakes. The other ones that I haven't seen, but it's on my list of things to do in Europe now finished. There is a population of not cave racers, beauty snakes in Belgium.
Okay.
Which I quite like to see. I mean, completely non-European snakes, but
it's still cool to see them. Though.
It'd be cool to see them. Yeah.
Paul's asked, did you see the king snakes? There's a population of king snakes somewhere. I can't remember exactly where.
Kings. The only population I know are the Canary Islands.
Yeah,
have got a real problem with king snakes. Tenerife's got a real problem with king snakes. I don't count the Canary Islands as Europe. However, I am also trying to see everything on the Canary Islands. So,
of course, that's a separate list.
That's a separate. I've got other lists I'm doing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you towards the end of the
okay,
list.
Yeah, but no, I haven't seen a wild king snake in Europe. No.
Nice. So yeah, that's still cool to see. Yeah, I had no idea about the Russian rat snakes. That's very cool.
Yeah, they are beasts, absolute beasts.
Yeah. Right. Where's my questions gone? There. Cool. I think that is that for questions. Any more on here? So, if somebody wanted to get into herping, what is some advice you could give them? Obviously, be it in the UK, be it abroad, sort of like, I don't know. This is if someone goes, I want to start herping. I've seen an adder in the UK. How do I see more stuff? What would your advice to them be?
First thing I'd say is if you're doing UK stuff, join your local ARG. Yeah. Every County has its own one. People are normally really, really friendly. They do a lot of excellent sort of conservation work, but they will take you out. They'll do organised trips out into the field to see various different species. And it's a nice, safe way to start herping. You've got to think, and it's a horrible thing to say, but I've had some very, very sketchy incidents being out herping. Not in the UK, but abroad, it can be very dangerous depending on the country. So just be mindful of, I would say, where you're going to go. But to start, I would just say to everybody, just get out and do it. Just think of what you want to see, do your research on the internet, formulate a plan, but get out there. If you get out there, I would say when you first start, don't think, right, I want to see this species and this species and this species. I would say pick an area and just go and wander about safely and just enjoy seeing all the different species. I'm herping a lot in America now, and I'm like a child because I don't have a list. I'm trying to do various things, but I don't have a specific list. So literally every bird, butterfly, dragonfly, snake, reptile, whatever I see is new, and it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, that's
rather than going for a specific thing. If you're a sort of person that works better, I mean, I'm one of these people. If you're a sort of person that works better with a target, a mission to do, then why not say, right, I want to see all the snakes in Europe first?
Yeah,
because it's a much easier thing to do. Or I choose a country. I want to see everything in Spain, which will take you a while. There's a lot of reptiles and amphibians in Spain, but that's a good list to do. Or all the frogs in Europe, something like that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's cool. That's good advice. So I just need to find some sand lizards, and then that's all the reptiles in the UK.
Sand lizards.
Honestly, it's ridiculous.
Sand lizards are easy. I was.
I've been to I'm quite close to like the Surrey Hills, so like Frensham, Hankley, all that sort of area, which is supposed to be fantastic for them.
I was at Hankley 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Check out my Insta pictures.
In fact, I can tell you what. I'm gonna look right now. Let's have a look.
Go on.
Let me just share the screen as well, so everyone can see me. Share screen. That one. Cool. There's so many cool lizards on here.
There we go.
Look at that. Very, very nice.
That's the male. That's the female. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll find them soon enough.
Again, we'll talk off air, mate. There's much easier places than that to see them.
Right. Okay. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. We'll have a chat. Have you seen the green lizards?
No. I was talking to someone about the green lizards recently as well, but I've not seen them either.
You got to count them for the British list.
Are they official or are they non-natives?
Well, there's an argument. Potentially they are native, so I would tick those as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll add this to the list then. They can go on the list with Asclepian snakes and.
Yeah, and the nice thing is they are the same place as the sand lizards, so
good. You
can literally see both in the same trip.
Fantastic. I need to book a day off during the week and go and find some stuff.
Yeah.
There's another question as we were looking at Instagram. What camera setup are you using? Are you just using your phone?
That's an excellent question. I carry an enormously heavy camera. I've got a Nikon D500 with additional power pack and stuff like that. And I was using Canon for quite a few years. I just find Nikon image quality is the same across the board with both manufacturers, in my humble opinion. But I just find in the field, Nikon is that little bit tougher, more durable than Canon. Other people swear by Canon. It's just a personal preference, I think.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I used to shoot Canon, and now I use a Sony camera. But they're all much for muchness. Yeah. And what lenses are you using? Because people
my go-to lens is the Nikon fixed 105 macro with the image stabilizer on it. I also use a 300 millimeter telephoto, because a lot of the things like rock lizards you just can't get anywhere near It's not like a wall lizard where you can take a picture of it with your phone and it's just going to look at you. The wall lizards, the rock lizards, the mountain rock lizards are so skittish that it's all long lens stuff. And a lot of things like the bigger lacertids, the big green lizards and stuff like that, you can't get close to them to get a decent picture. So it's important to have that. For snakes, it's difficult because if you're going to catch some of the bigger snakes, like Caspian whip snake can be 4 or 5 feet, Montpellier snake 4 or 5 feet, something like that. A macro's not going to be that useful for you. So I use either take a wide angle or just a standard 52mm kit lens, something like
that. That makes sense. And then
I do. The thing is, I carry my camera around all day with me. It weighs a ton, and I carry a tripod, and even I've got a carbon fiber tripod. But even so, it's still weight that you're carrying around all day, scrambling over things, and I'd end up taking 90% of my pictures with my phone. Always the way.
It's always the way. It's easy. It's because you've got the phone so accessible. Whereas your camera, you've got to set it up. And talking of carrying stuff around, this is a good question. What is in your herping bag?
Oh, very good. Water. People forget how, if you're out herping, particularly in a hot country, how much water you need. I mean, literally, and in America, you get dehydrated so quickly. So there's always tons of water. I take electrolytes for the same reason. I take a shed load of protein bars because I get very hangry if I don't eat regularly. Kit wise, at least 2 head torches. I take if I'm in a foreign country, I take an absolute bifter first aid kit. I mean, I'm a control freak, so a first aid kit that I can do operations with if I need to. What else? Wet wipes. 2 reasons. It's not great to have a poo outdoors. You need a wet wipe. The other thing is, oftentimes snakes will spray feces all over you, or all over themselves. And if you're trying to get your lovely picture of a snake and there's all flies all over it, it's not great. So sometimes give a snake a little clean up. Tick remover is the other thing, because I've had ticks buried in me. You've got to pull the ticks out.
That's something I wouldn't have thought of, actually. That's a good one.
Spare batteries for everything. And also a solar charger if I'm going to go somewhere hot enough that it's going to work.
Okay, that's interesting.
And
I will ask as well, because I know some people like to know the ins and outs and stuff. Head torches. Is there a specific brand or model that you like, or are you not a head torch?
Oh no, I'm an absolute kit geek.
The more detail you want to share, the better, because people love it.
Personally, I love Petzl. So I tend to use Petzl head torches. I've got I can't remember the name of the brand. I've got an American one which lights the sky up phenomenally. It's absolutely blinding. However, because it's so bright, you get every insect in the world wants to come and visit your face. I use that normally when I'm taking photos at night. To set the photo up, but if I'm actually out herping, I've got a couple of different Petzls. One of the Petzls, again, forgive me, I can't remember which model I've got, but it turns itself off if you look at somebody, which I think is really clever. So you don't blind anybody, which is always happening when you're out on the trail at night. So that's cool. Can I think what else I would have in my bag? I'd have some bags in case I want to bag something up. I think that's about it. Always have a multi-tool.
It's a pretty good kick. Like about snake hooks and tongs and that sort of thing.
Gloves. Right. It did. Sorry. Again, always have gloves. Always have 1 or 2 pairs of gloves. Snake hooks, yes and no. It kind of depends on what I'm doing and where I am. If I'm in Europe, probably won't take a snake hook because our species don't really warrant it. When I'm herping in the States, I have 2 different hooks. I have what they call a stump ripper, which does what it says on the tin. It's a very, very robust snake hook. It's an L shape rather than being a U-shaped hook. It's an L-shaped hook, and it's like riveted, and you can literally rip a stump out the ground with it or turn a rock over with it, because obviously you're dealing with a lot more serious venomous stuff over there.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a snake hook to manipulate snakes.
Okay, that makes sense. Paul has asked, do you take binoculars with you?
Yeah, I always take. I've got. I take a compact pair. I've got a Swarovski 400s, so they're very small, but they work phenomenally well in poor light. And I've tried carrying big binoculars, and it's just added weight, and you can't wear it around your neck because every time you bend down to flip something, it hits you in the nads.
Yeah.
So I just take a pair of the Swarovski compacts.
Okay, fantastic. And then another question on the chat as well is, what brand or what gloves do you go for? Because I've seen like the Hex Armor gloves, which are like ridiculous amount of money. And is that something you use?
I'm going to be very careful what I say. I'm sure Hex Armor is a wonderful product, and I know a lot of people use Hex Armor. I've kept venomous for 20 years. I've never bought a pair of Hex Armor gloves.
Right.
Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
I just use in Europe. It depends what species you're likely to encounter. So you know which country you're going to. So for the vast majority of Europe, I would say a decent pair of welding gloves is fine. It's only when you're getting things like the Milos Viper, the blunt nose Viper, or the Ottoman Viper, where you might consider something a little bit thicker.
Right. Okay. And to be fair, if you're not experienced, you probably shouldn't be handling them regardless of the gloves or not.
To be fair, I mean, ideally, I don't handle stuff. It's nice to get a. Let's be honest, it's lovely to get an in situ picture.
Yeah.
But oftentimes that's impossible because you flipped it under a dirty mattress, and you don't really want to get a picture of it under a dirty mattress. Yeah. So you will move it. If you can get a basking picture, and Vipers are really good for this because they do lay out in the open. And if you flush them, they do tend to come back and sit where they were in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can so I'd always rather do a non-posed picture.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say none of my pictures are posed, because that's not true. But I would always, in the first instance, try and go for a non-posed picture. Certainly in the UK, I haven't taken an adder picture where I've touched the adder for years. Everything is done on a long lens.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We've been seeing quite a lot of adders recently, and although if you flip them on the tin, they move. But there's as many out basking as there are.
Exactly that. So. Yeah, your picture might not, there might be vegetation in a bit of it or something like that, which is irritating. But I think that's nicer than you see these pictures of adders coiled perfectly, and you can tell that they're absolutely stressed, and it's not a natural looking picture. So I try and avoid that.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's much easier in the States because rattlesnakes sit out in the open, and they know they're tough. They don't run up. They literally just sit there, and they blow themselves up. They put their tail in the air. They put their head in the air, and they'll just sit there. They will not run. Yeah. So you can get fantastic pictures without having to manipulate them at all.
Rattlesnakes are something that I'd really like to see. At some point, I'll get to America, and rattlesnakes of any type are definitely high up there because it's just something that we don't get here at all. Like anything,
100%, yeah.
To be fair, I'm not even fussed about seeing one. I want to hear one more than I want to see one.
I mean, I had a decent collection of rattlesnakes, and it's different hearing them in your snake building than it is hearing them in the wild. The first time I heard a wild rattlesnake, it was like the first time I heard a wild wolf. It's just a primeval noise, and literally all the hairs go up on your neck. It's a fabulous, fabulous thing.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds incredible. Yeah, I've never heard a wild wolf either, so that would be something else that would be really cool. I've got a lot of living to do still. Yeah. Right. So I think we've pretty much wrapped up the basics of UK and Europe. So let's talk other lists, because I know you've got a few others. You mentioned the Canary Islands.
So I am trying to work my way through the Canary Islands. I do bang on about the Canary Islands. That's another thing. If anybody wants to take up herping, Canary Islands are an incredible place for so many reasons. It's such a unique biotype. It's so contained. most of the stuff on those islands, by the fact that they're so far away from everything, is endemic.
Yeah.
It's got influences from Africa, so the plants are really cool. The reptile species are, I think, amazing on there, but it's so cheap for people from the UK to get to.
Yeah.
Literally, I live in Essex, as you can probably tell, and from my local airport, you can get a flight to the Canary Islands, £17 one way and £53 back.
Yeah, it's ridiculously cheap, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? That's less fuel than it would take to fuel my Land Rover.
That's cheaper than it cost me to get the train to London and back.
Exactly that. And my experience of the Canary Islands, that herping is really, really easy.
Okay. Which island would you recommend if someone wanted to go to Canary Islands? Which one would be the first one you'd head to?
Any of them. It
doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter. They've all. So the beauty of the Canary Islands is each island has got its own lizard. So they're like our version of Lacerta, but they're Galateas. So
Right.
each island has got its own specific lizard. Each island has got its own specific gecko. And each island has got its own specific skink. Some of the islands have got more, some of the islands share them, but by and large, that's how it works out. I just think that's fabulous. My partner, Alison, who is a phenomenal herper without trying to be a phenomenal herper. She's just literally not that interested. And she's annoyingly found so many cool things that I've been, so we'll be out herping, like the Milos Viper. I searched and searched and searched the Milos Viper to the point I was just tired and hungry and fed up. But she is so focused that she'll just go, oh, let's just do another hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do another. Oh, let's just look under there. And, so I ended up, I flipped a tyre, big tractor tyre, put it down with a sulk. Oh, this is bollocks, let's go home. And then she went, there was something underneath there. So I've lifted it up again, and there was a viper. It's so cryptic.
Yeah.
You could, but she's so good at finding stuff. And she's just come back from a trip to the Canary Islands. She went to Tenerife. Not a herping trip. She went with her mum just for some early sunshine.
Yeah.
She's literally sending me back amazing pictures of lizards that she's literally sunbathing on the beach, and there's lizards all over the place. It's
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I cannot recommend the Canary Islands for so many, the cheapness, but the availability of the herping. Some of the islands are harder to get to, like La Gomera, but they have got phenomenal species. And the lizards on the Canary Islands are bigger than most of the European lizards.
Okay, cool. So in theory, easier to spot if they're bigger.
Easier to spot, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you get a second, have a Google. The skinks on. Have a look at the Gran Canaria skink. Just see if you can get a picture of a Gran Canaria skink up. Tell me it's not one of the most beautiful lizards you've seen. I went to Gran Canaria with Alison.
Oh, wow.
For a winter sun, and we found all three lizards within an afternoon.
Nice.
Look at the tail on that.
Yeah, the colours on that are incredible.
Yeah.
Look at this pattern on the tail. Oh, yeah, that's really okay. Right, after this, oh, wow, look at that one.
Yeah.
Right, I need to book some flights.
Honestly, it's so cheap.
Wow.
And it's something you can do with your partner. You can go, oh, let's have a holiday. They don't know you're going herping. You just go around to the beach and you're looking at stuff like this.
Yeah. My wife unfortunately does listen, so when I start booking flights, she's going to know exactly what's going on.
but it's a nice place to go on holiday. Anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's really cool. That's an incredible looking lizard.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah, Gran Canaria. Well,
so I want to finish off the Canary Islands. I'm about halfway through that list, maybe 3/4 way through that list. I want to finish off Cyprus. Cyprus is another really, really good place to herp.
Yeah, my parents live in Cyprus.
Oh, well, you're laughing then. I mean, it's got some banging species. You've got blunt-nosed viper, which is a beast of a viper to see. You've got the Cypriot whip snake, another beautiful, like really big golden snake. You've got loads of skinks. You've got the Troodos mountain lizards, lovely little wall lizard type things.
Yeah.
really, really interesting stuff
There's
in
one
Cyprus.
today. My mum went for a walk today, and I've been doing quite a lot of herping videos recently, and she's really got really into the videos. And she was sending me pictures of. I can't remember where they went. They went for a walk, and she said, "You ruined my walk because now every time we go anywhere, we're just looking for animals instead."
Excellent.
And they were seeing loads of lizards. I don't know where the pictures went. I can't remember, but they were like a rockagama type lizard.
It'll be Steliozagama. Yeah.
Yeah, and everywhere
Yeah.
she was looking, there were the massive, like
Beautiful.
bearded dragon looking lizards.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
About the same size as a bearded dragon as well.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, but no, I'd recommend Cyprus. I've got a feeling there's 39 species on Cyprus, something like that. I've got one left to see, so I will go back out there and try and tick that. And then for me, I'm a dear friend of mine, Rob Stone, well-known American herper, is trying to do all the venomous species in America. So all the rattlesnakes, all the like the copperheads and the water moccasins and the Gila monsters. So he's trying to see all of those, and he's very close to finishing that list. So I've been lucky enough to accompany him on some of his trips. So my rattlesnake list is not too bad.
Nice.
But I'd like to finish the American venomous list as well. So
yeah, that would be really, really cool. And then once you've done that, you just got to do the American non-venomous list.
Oh, that would be fabulous, but that is a lot of species.
Yeah, I'm following a guy on Instagram that is trying to find every species just in California.
Oh, I like him. Yeah, it's cool.
And there's even that is like a ridiculous amount of animals.
Yeah. I've hopefully got a field guide to Utah coming out soon.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I've been doing a lot of Utah trips. So if anyone's going to go to America, I recommend starting off herping in somewhere like Utah. Phenomenal rattlesnakes. So many species in Utah.
Yeah.
And then maybe doing Arizona as well. Arizona's got 13 species of rattlesnake, I think.
Nice.
And then Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, all of those states are really good for snakes.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, that's mad. One day I'll get over there. I think I've got to go on a work trip at some point soon to Miami. So I'm going to try and get out there because there's a ridiculous amount of reptiles in Florida, but so many of them are non-natives as well.
I would say I've herped Florida recently. And I've been fortunate to herp all over the world and been to some very sketchy places.
Yeah.
Florida is by far the most dangerous place I've ever herped.
Because of the people?
Because of the people, yes. Once you get out of the touristic areas, and I'm talking very soon out of the touristic areas. So once you're out of the big resorts and you're heading into the Everglades or up towards Georgia, it is super dangerous.
Right, okay, that's interesting.
I certainly wouldn't recommend herping anywhere away from the tourist sites without a local.
Yeah, well, luckily we've got the company I work for have got offices over there, and one of the guys that lives there is quite into his stuff as well. So hopefully he'll take me out around a few spots that he knows.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You can be in Disney World and see species from all over the world.
Yeah,
literally, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was looking on iNaturalist, and like even where our office is, in like a mile square, there's like basilisks, green iguanas, crocodiles, alligators, Burmese pythons. It's ridiculous.
Tegus,
tegus,
felsumas, chameleons.
Yeah,
there's a ton of stuff. Yeah, it's really good, and the Floridian species are really cool as well. Like the pygmy rattlesnakes and the cottonmouths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just, as I say, it is very, very dangerous.
Yeah. It's a shame that it's the people that are dangerous and not the animals, really, isn't it?
It is really, but you think, you're driving down unmade roads through some of the Everglades or up towards Georgia, and it is just miles of nothing and then a meth lab.
Yeah,
and then that's not a joke. It's actually like that, and just crazy people that as soon as you drive anywhere near are coming out with shotguns. I mean, yeah, we had some very challenging experiences herping out there, shall we say? And
Yeah.
I was with locals, so
Yeah, maybe I'll try and stay as close to home,
yeah.
so to speak, as possible. It looks like there's plenty around there
Yeah,
anyway. So.
bear in mind, I've been to Israel twice, and I thought that was a breeze. But Florida was just
Yeah,
sketchy.
that's
Yeah,
mad. That's mad.
yeah.
Cool. So any more lists? Any more countries? I know somebody asked a question earlier asking if you've been to Indonesia or Australia.
I have herped New Zealand, which is really good. Really enjoyed that. It's no snakes, obviously,
Yeah, nice.
but phenomenal skinks and geckos. Really, I recommend that if you're going to go out there. There's some cracking species. I haven't done Indonesia. I've done Malaysia and I've done Borneo.
Okay.
I'd recommend Borneo. Just a phenomenal, overwhelming amount of species, particularly if you like frogs and stuff.
Yeah, Borneo is the most densely populated with animals ever anywhere. I don't know what the technical term is, but
it is a really prehistoric place, Borneo.
yeah,
It is mad. I saw some cracking species out there.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places I need to go in the world.
I really want to go to Japan.
Yep.
There's salamander heaven, Japan. So I do fancy. I'd love to see. I'm going out to Philadelphia in a couple of weeks' time to try and swim with hellbenders.
Okay, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And there's a lot. I can't remember exactly. I think there's over 30 species of salamander in Philadelphia. There's also timber rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, and Massasauga rattlesnakes. So once I've swum with hellbenders, my next thing is I want to swim with a giant salamander.
Yeah,
that would just be incredible.
Yeah,
so,
that'll be amazing.
So I need to get out to Japan at some point, maybe a honeymoon or something like that.
Yeah, any excuse.
Any excuse.
Yeah. Fantastic. Right, I think we are about to wrap up. There is one question I've had started because it wasn't herping related, but it did relate to something you mentioned at the beginning of the show. Michael says, your outdoor keeping sounds fantastic. Are you keeping all year round, or is it just in the summer months?
Yeah, no. I only keep European species in my garden, so they are used to overwintering, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got. That's a lie. Actually, I've got one American species that I keep outside. I keep tiger salamanders outside.
Okay.
But our winters are no more severe than the winters in Utah. At altitude, so they're fine. They've all overwintered for the last 5 years or so. The wall lizards do absolutely fine. They're used to overwintering. The ocellated lizards do fine. Spadefoot toads do fine. So yeah,
fantastic. That's really cool.
At the minute, I've got European pond turtles, but I bring them in the winter because they're quite small at the moment. But when they're larger, I'll just leave those out for the winter as well.
Cool. I like that. That's really cool. I like the idea of turtles. There's a like a local country park not far from me. Well, I say not far. It's literally like 150 meters down the road. And there have been pictures of a massive soft-shelled turtle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, massive. I've never seen it, and it only pops up maybe like on the very, very, very hot days of the year.
Yeah,
it's been sighted a few times, and that's something
wicked.
that I'd love to go and see. It's massive as well. The recent pictures. Chap's on a kayak and it's in front of him, and it's like a bin lid.
That's wicked.
Lizard turtle. So yeah, that would be cool to see. And then let's do. I've got any more questions? Yeah. Paul has asked, "What is your day job?"
Oh, I work for the Home Office.
There you go. It sounds like some sort of 007 thing there. Can't say. It's fair enough. Government, top secret.
Yeah,
that's cool. Right, last question, and then we're going to finish up. Are there any Emmys orbicaris still wild? I don't know. Are there any Emmys orbicularis still wild garden?
I don't. I don't think there are. That's the European pond turtle. I don't think there are any populations left. There was talk that there were some left on the Norfolk Broads. I don't know if they're reintroductions or something like that. But as far as I'm aware, I mean, there's people that know much better than me. But as far as I'm aware, there's no populations of Emmys in the UK that are natural.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm sure we could go and do deeper dives on individual species, but I think we've encapsulated your achievement pretty well. Again, congratulations. Absolutely fantastic. And thank you very
Really
much.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to come and have a chat. I do have one more question.
Go for it.
The final wrap-up question that we ask every guest on the podcast is a double-barreled question as well. So the question is, if money, space, time, and legality were no issues at all, which reptile would you like to keep? And B, which non-reptile species would you like to keep?
Ooh, reptile-wise, probably Vipera casticovi. I would love a collection of those, probably kept outdoors, because
that's one picture of that.
To my mind, it is the most attractive viper there is. It's from sort of Turkey, Georgia, that area.
I'm just trying to spell it, to be fair.
Kaz.
Is that the one? Cousin Novi. Oh, wow, yeah, let's share the screen for that one. Hang on a second. This is just Google Images. So this one?
Yeah, that's it. The picture bottom left is by far the best example. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, that is an incredible looking snake.
Yeah, so I would like a group of those. They are phenomenally expensive and legally really hard to get.
Right.
I would, or something like Trimrisurus McGregori from the Philippines, the white vipers. I think to keep a white arboreal viper would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And then your non-reptile species. We've had everything from birds to pigs to all sorts of stuff. The pigs took me by surprise, to be fair.
Does amphibians count?
Yeah, and anything that isn't a reptile.
Oh, in that case, I would like to keep hellbenders.
Yeah, cool. Good choice.
Yeah,
good choice.
I don't think anyone's ever privately kept them, but that would be amazing.
Fantastic. Very, very good. Right. Well, that has been a fantastic hour and a half podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Really appreciate you having me on. That's really kind.
I really appreciate the time you spent coming on to chat to us. Before you go, where can people find you? This is the perfect time to plug your Instagram, your podcast, all that sort of stuff.
That's good. So please follow me on Instagram. That would be lovely. I'd love to get over 1,000 followers. I don't really do Facebook, so I have a Facebook account, but I've very, very rarely go on it. So if you friend request me on Facebook, don't be offended if I don't answer. I just don't go on it. If you message me on Instagram, I'll chat to you about reptiles all night. I literally, because I do a lot of American podcasts and stuff, I get so many Americans. I chat to Americans about snakes and reptiles all day long. So if you want to get in touch, have a chat about something, you've got any questions, my Instagram, which I'm sure you can put on the...
I'll put a link in the show notes afterwards.
Yeah, if you're interested in venomous stuff, as I say, myself and Phil Wolf, the American venomous keeper, we do a venomous podcast called Venom Exchange Radio. That's on normal platforms, Spotify, everything. Super plug. We do have a clothing range, Venom Exchange Radio stuff, all the usual stuff, phone cases, hoodies, all of that, caps, whatever you want, if you're into your venom. Nice. That's about it. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been really an honour to be here.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Right, I'm going to say goodbye, but don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room and we'll have a little catch up.
Okay, mate.
Wrapping up the podcast. But thank you very much. It was lovely to have you on, mate.
Cheers.
Cool. Right, there we go. What an episode. And now I need to save many, many pennies to go and travel all around Europe. Well, I say many, many pennies. Canary Islands sound well cheap. So, yeah, watch this space. Canary Islands Herping trip coming soon. Thank you very much, everybody that's watched. All the comments, you guys have really helped this episode move along. It's been really, really good. Once again, quick plug, if you want to join Patreon, there's a link in the show notes below. It starts at £1 a month. But I have been Ben McIntyre. This has been a ReptiChat podcast. If you want to know any more, go and follow me on Instagram at ReptiChat, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much, and goodbye. I say goodbye, I haven't pushed the button yet. And goodbye.